analysis with multisyllable words. So we are just going to keep building in complexity. And again, spelling analysis is a systematic process for learning how words are read and spelled and analyzing why they're spelled that way. So like yesterday, I want you to put away your books, take out a pencil, put it on your desk or a pen, get out some paper, and I want you to take off your teacher hats for a little bit and put on a student hat and be a student, okay? And like yesterday, I'm going to start with words that are probably completely new to you, but they are real words. And so you can experience this truly as a student. All right, this is a very appropriate word for the snow coming down behind us. The first word is Kerglaff. Kerglaff nearly paralyzed him when he hit the water. Kerglaff. How many syllables in Kerglaff? 2. All right. We are going to say to spell Kerglaff. What will we say to spell? Kerglaff. What is the first syllable? Ker. Let's sound it out. K. Use a k. Use the of hurt. Second syllable, don't write anything. Second syllable is glaff. Let's sound it out. G-o-a-f. Kerglaff. Go ahead and write Kerglaff, and when you write it, please leave a space between the syllables. As you write it, sound it out for me so I can hear you. All right. What is the first syllable? Ker. Help me to write it. K. What is the second syllable? Glaff. Help me to write it. G-o-a-f. All right. How will we mark it? Underline the Let's go ahead and sound it out. K-g-o-a-f. Kerglaff. All right. What is Kerglaff? Yes, the shock one feels when plunging into cold water. All right, when you say the sound k, make sure not to add an to it. A few of you are saying ka, which really emphasizes an sound. So try to isolate it with me. K, k, k. Good. The next word is diesel. The cars moved diesel around the track. Diesel. So how many syllables in diesel? 2. So we will say to spell D-zil. All right? What will we say to spell? D-zil. The first syllable is D, D-E. Use an E at A. The second syllable is zil. Z. Use a s, z, I, o. Use an I-E, yeah, here. What? So go ahead and write D-zil. Oh, I like how some of you are sounding it out. All right, what's the first syllable? D. Help me to spell it. D-E. Second syllable is zil. Z-I-O. How will we mark it? Underline the E. What sound of z is this saying? Second. So what will we do? Put a 2 over it. Let's sound it out. D-E-Z-I-O. Diesel. All right. What does diesel mean? It means clockwise. Yeah. Yes. All right. And I can see you all thinking. All right. The next word is rudderkins. The Rudderkins at school will not leave Allie alone. Rudderkins. How many syllables in Rudderkins? 3. We will say to spell rut-ter-kins. Got it? What will we say to spell?
Rut-ter-kins.
What's the first syllable? Rut. T. What's the second syllable? Ter. T. Use the of her. Third syllable is kins. K. Use a tall k. I. N. Z. Z. Go ahead and write rut-ter-kins. And what's the first syllable? Rut. Help me to spell it. T. What is the second syllable? Ter. T. What is the third syllable? Kins. K. I. N. Z. How will we mark this? Underline the put a 2 over the z. Let's go ahead and sound it out. T, t, k, I, n, z. Rudderkins. When you get to larger words too, if students are struggling with it, you can go, let's sound out the first syllable. Rut. Second syllable, ter. So you can break it apart like that if they need that help as well. And what is Rudderkins? What do you think that means? Bullies. Rudderkins, the bullies. The next word is fudgel. The kids like to fudgel. So you'll say to spell fudgel. Okay, what will you say to spell?
Fudgel.
Okay, what is the first syllable? Fud. D. What is the second syllable? Gel. J. Use a g, j. L. Go ahead and write fudgel. Okay, what is the first syllable? Fud. D. What is the second syllable? Gel. J. L. How will we mark this? Put a 2 over the j. Why did the G say j? G may soften to j before an E, I, or Y. So here it said j because it is before a E. Let's sound it out. D, j, L, fudgel. What does it mean to fudgel? It means to pretend to work. The next word is lumming. We had quite a lumming last night. Lumming. How many syllables in lumming? 2. We will say to spell lum-ming. What will you say to spell?
Lum-ming.
Lum-ming. Don't write it yet. The first syllable is lum, Second syllable is ming, Go ahead and write lum-ming. All right, what is the first syllable? Lum. Help me sound it out. What is the second syllable? Ming. Let's sound it out. How will we mark it? Underline the Let's sound it out. Lumming. What does lumming mean? Yeah, heavy rain, downpour. All right. Yes.
I was wondering why you were splitting up the consonant, but if you don't split up that double consonant, like the double M, then it would be looming, right? Because if it was at the end of the syllable,
Yeah.
then say it's long name.
Right. What if it was like this? That would say, she's right, looming. However, a good tip for dividing syllables is typically when there's a double consonant, the syllable always divides between them. Mhm. Okay, go ahead and put away your student hat for a little bit, and you can put back your teacher hat, put that back on, and go ahead and take out your spelling analysis quick reference, and this time turn to the side that says multi-syllable words, okay? And we are going to step through a word together, and you will read the role of the teacher, and I will read the role of the student, so we can practice this. So the teacher will say the word.
Boglish.
Boglish, yep. And then you will read the sentence and repeat the word.
She had no idea what to do next. She was completely boglish. Boglish.
Then you'll ask me to count the syllables.
How many syllables? Two.
And then you will say to spell, pausing for each of the syllable breaks so that the students know where that syllable breaks. If there are two consonants, you will pronounce both of them. Does that make sense? So you want to pronounce each syllable exactly as it's written for the students. So I usually say to them, say to spell, and that's their cue to listen very carefully, because when I say to spell something, I'm giving them some information that they really need to write that word correctly. So go ahead.
Say to spell boglish.
And then the students repeat, boglish. This is a really good chance to check that they heard you, right? Because if they say boglish, you know that they didn't hear boglish. So be very careful as a teacher that they're repeating that say to spell back correctly, and if you need to, clarify it. And then the students will say the first syllable, bog, and then they will segment that first syllable, and you will finger spell and cue it. By the way, once a class gets into this, they'll just begin to know what's coming next. So I will be the student, and you're going to practice finger spelling and cueing for me as my teacher. B, A, G. Okay, the second syllable is glish. So I'll say glish, and then you will figure spell and cue glish. G, U, I, use I, E, ya, and then sh. Okay? Then the students will write the word sounding it out as they write it. So I'm a student writing B, A, G, U, I, sh. And then you will write the word as the students segment it. First syllable is bog, B, A, G. Second syllable is glish, G, U, I, sh. And then you will ask the students how they mark it, and they'll analyze it.
How do we mark it?
Underline the sh. And then we'll read it. B, A, G, G, U, I, sh. Boglish. Does that make sense? Yes.
No, probably not for this word, but as the words get longer, is it ever a good idea to try and go through the syllables after you do b, a, g, ish, boglish, boglish?
That's fine. So here's one thing to keep in mind is that like a foundation student will start with one syllable words, and they're there for all of foundations A and all of foundations B. Then they start two syllable words that are compound words, which are easier to blend. And then they move to two syllable words with common suffixes. And so they just keep building. And we're about to try some longer words that have more syllables that you're familiar with. And it'll feel like it's hard even for you to hold all this in your mind. But keep in mind, if you're spelling a multi-syllable word, do you actually have to have all this information in your head? No? Well, how do you write a like 5-syllable word? Yeah, you actually do. And you have to be able to hold the word in your mind, segment it, and write it. But we don't go from one-syllable words to five-syllable words in 3 days like you all are going to. We build like that over years. And so I'm wanting, though, to give you an experience of this. It also explains why are multi-syllable words really hard to read and why they're very hard to spell, right? But these skills then help us break them down. But of course, if a student is struggling to read a word like lumbing, you could do lum, ming, lum, ming.
Because a lot of my second language learners, I have to do that with them because they're having a problem. And I just wasn't sure if I was doing them a disservice.
No. You give them as much as they need support, and then you back off as they are able to do that. Okay. So, yes, what does boglish mean? Yeah, no idea. Completely confused. She has no idea what to do next. All right. We are going to turn to some commonly misspelled words. Go ahead and put away the spelling and reference chart. Go ahead and put your student hat back on, and we'll experience some words that you're familiar with, which I think is also helpful. And these come from a list of commonly misspelled words. So the first word is reference. The school library has a large reference collection. How many syllables in reference? 3. We will say to spell ref-er-ence. What will we say to spell?
Ref-er-ence.
The first syllable is ref, f. Second syllable is the of her. The third syllable is ence. Use a k, silent final E. Go ahead and write ref-er-ence. And now help me to write it. First syllable is ref, f. Second syllable is Third syllable is ence. Silent final E. How will we mark reference? Underline the We'll double underline the silent final E because we always double underline silent final or silent letters. And what about this? To put a 2 over it. Why did it say its second sound? Because of the E, yeah. The C softens to S before an E-I or Y, and we have the E there for the C to say its soft sound. Let's go ahead and sound it out. Reference.
I have another question.
Yes.
I haven't done this program before, but I've got bits and pieces. I've been crossing through that E. It's better to underline than cross through.
Yeah, I think so. We don't want to visually disrupt any parts of words or to even give the impression it's not necessary. That E is actually very necessary. Otherwise, it would say referenc. And here's a true story. So, by the way, C softening to S before an EI or Y happens in a lot of languages. And what's very interesting to me is that speakers of other languages know that this happens in their language. Most English speakers have no idea. And it's also fascinating to me because English speakers are notoriously bad at learning other languages. And I have a suspicion that this is because we're not very good at understanding what's really going on in our language. But once you know that this happens, then you are alerted to this idea that phonograms change sounds next to other letters. And and it happens in many, 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 many languages. The next word is accident. 2 cars were involved in the accident. Accident. How many syllables? 3. Let's say to spell accident. What will we say to spell?
Accident.
First syllable, ac. Use a k. Second syllable, si. Use a k. Use I, E, ya. Third syllable, Dent. D-e-n-t. Go ahead and write accident. All right, first syllable is ac. Let's write it. Ac. Second syllable is si. S-I. Third syllable is dent. D-e-n-t. All right? Boy, C said two sounds in this word. Why is that? Here it's before a consonant, and here it's before a I. So why did it say s here? Because it's before an I. So how will we mark it? 2. And what's the rule? C always softens to s before an E, I, or Y. Otherwise, C says k. And you see both parts of that rule in this word. Some of you are going, oh my word. I love it. Let's sound it out. Accident. Accident. The next word is colleague. John is a colleague from work. Colleague. How many syllables? 2. First syllable is, we will say to spell colleague. What will we say to spell? Colleague. First syllable is call. K. Use a k. S. A. Ul. Second syllable is league. Ul. E. Use an E at A. G. Do you know what kind of G to use here? We just learned this today. And by the way, if someone forgets it, that's fine. And then silent final E. Go ahead and say to spell, or go ahead and spell colleague. First syllable is call. K, a, ol. Second syllable is league. Ol, e, g. Silent final E. How will we mark this one? Underline the E, underline the G. Why do we have a silent final E in colleague? English words do not end in V or U. That's why the E is there. Some of you are sighing. So if you've just learned a phonogram, I wasn't sure if you would remember because it's so uncommon, right, to think of this as saying G. We're not commonly taught this. If I see the kids are confused because it's a new phonogram, I'll say, oh, it's our new one. It's spelled like this. Do you remember that? And then I'll hide it, and then they'll write it. Totally fine to give them that support as they learn and as they master them. All right. The next word is beautiful. The garden is beautiful. Beautiful. How many syllables in beautiful? The next word is beautiful. How many syllables in beautiful? Oh, why do you think this is so often misspelled? We will say to spell beautiful. Got it? What will you say to spell? Beautiful. The first syllable is B. B-E. Use E at A. Second syllable is U. There you go. The third syllable is T. I. And the fourth syllable is full. Ul. Go ahead and write beautiful. And then help me write it. First syllable is B, B-E. Second syllable is U. Third syllable is T, I. Fourth syllable is full. Ul. How will we mark it? Underline the E. We'll put a line or a macron over the U. And why did it say it's long sound? A, E, O, U usually say they're long sounds at the end of the syllable. Why is the I saying I at the end of the syllable? I and Y may say I or I at the end of the syllable. Full. So let's read it together. B, E, U, T, I, Beautiful. So someone pointed out to me that I missed marking something in beautiful because this isn't saying beautiful, it's saying you, the broad sound of you. And we mark the broad sound with 2 dots. Yep, so if you haven't gotten to broad sounds yet, that's okay. But English has long sounds. Let me start again. English has short sounds, which we're familiar with, like or aw. And it has long sounds, like a or e. But some of the vowels also have something called a broad sound, and usually we skip those in our phonics programs. With a, aw, that broad sound is the aw. And so that solves all of these words, right? Like wall, call, water. Do you hear it? Yeah. Some people struggle to hear the short sound, but if you compare these words, you can hear short and broad really clearly. Thank you. I put it there, and I put the golf ball. So you can hear them very, very clearly. The other thing about broad sounds is they're very forward in the mouth. So if you say a, aw, it's round in your mouth. U, is forward. O, oo is the broad sound of o. It's very forward, oo. So those broad sounds are forward. And it's really interesting to me because oo is another one, right, that we skip. And so then these very simple words become exceptions. But we have a lot of vowel sounds in English, and broad vowels are part of English and a part that are commonly never taught, but they explain many, many things. Do you have any thoughts or questions about this? Yes?
What do you do if a student says, but we don't say beautiful, we say beautiful?
Yes.
Like we don't hear 4 syllables in speech. How do you explain that?
Well, I would go back to the syllable rules. First of all, every syllable may have only 1 vowel sound. Beautiful. You actually hear all the sounds there, don't you? Beautiful. I think, but because we have 2 vowels next to each other, they're blended, and we say them very quickly. But we do have 4 syllables, and the dictionary will break it as 4 too. So sometimes we mishear it, or we think we're hearing something else, but we actually are saying 4. We're saying 4 distinct vowel sounds. Yes?
One thing that I found kind of helpful is when we asked students to put on their British accent, a lot of times those syllable differences became exaggerated.
Also, what's the root of beautiful? Beauty. Do you hear very clearly too? So we could talk about that. This even gets into suffixing rules, which we haven't talked about yet, but it does. So one of the purposes of Say to Spell is to really clearly articulate what's happening in the word. Speech oftentimes blurs parts of the word as we say it quickly, but that doesn't mean we're not saying it, and sounds next to each other become a little less clear sometimes. But this is why it's spelled that way. This is how the dictionary will have it broken into syllables as well. All right. Once again, your spelling analysis list will provide for you these tips, but they will also provide for you where the syllables break. When you are doing Say to Spell, all of that information is provided to you of this is where the syllables break. Just make sure to enunciate really clearly.